All right, it's Ty here. Grand Theory of Everything, the show. I've got Big Brown, aka Brendan Schaub, or I guess it's aka the other way. We're going to talk about some interesting stuff. This guy has a story, whether it be the Cheeto Finger story, whether it be walking on at one of the biggest schools playing football, shattering his nose fighting a UFC legend, and then just down-to-earth advice on what it takes to make it. So, thanks for being here, man.
Let's do this.
I love, I'm a businessman investor. One of the businesses I wish I had gotten into was, I'm like, damn it, I missed the UFC.
Yeah.
That was the thing to get it. Tell us, just give us a little bit. A lot of people already know you, but was this always what you wanted to do? Fight?
A little bit. What got me what kind of sparked my interest in it was Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Oh, really?
Yeah, man.
Van Damme, all right.
Jean-Claude Van Damme. And in the movie Bloodsport.
Okay.
Bloodsport, me and my older brother, Jay, we'd literally watch it every day after school.
Okay.
And so I just wanted to be like Bloodsport. So my dad, there's no avenue for the UFC. The UFC wasn't around. The UFC didn't come about to 1993.
Right.
In Denver, my hometown in Denver was the first UFC.
Really?
So there's really no avenue to be a fighter.
Right.
So, my dad signed us up what anyone would do if kids wanted to be like Jean-Claude Van Damme. He signed us up for Taekwondo. And if you've seen Bloodsport, you're thinking it's going to be like this badass, all this cool, dope shit like this. Nah, man, they put you in that bullshit gi, and we were punching like this.
Yeah, doing twisty punches.
You ever punch like this? You ever try to beat someone up like this? You get your ass.
Who invented? I call them twisty punches. I'm like,
I don't know what it is, man, but me and my brother were like, fuck this. You know what I'm saying? So, that wasn't great. My dad stuck with it. My dad's a second or third degree black belt in Taekwondo.
So it's some good exercise.
Yeah, man.
But it's not a legit.
No, but I grew up, doing every sport. You name it, I did it. I was drawn to football, played college pro football, and the whole plan was kind of just, I knew I always wanted to be involved in fighting. And as the UFC got bigger and bigger, I knew it was an avenue for me. And I fell out of love with football probably my junior year of college. I played at the University of Colorado, was on scholarship, and I knew my junior year this wasn't going to be how I was going to make a living.
Yeah.
It just wasn't. I wasn't into it. I was getting injured all the time, so I started doing jiu-jitsu and some boxing. I'd get done with practice and go straight to jiu-jitsu and boxing, and I really wasn't telling anyone. It was kind of the Bruce Wayne way to go
Keep
about
it undercover.
That's
good, so you don't
jinx Batman at night, man. So.
Is that your main? I mean, now MMA is so mixed up. Do you have any discipline that you like the most? You like BJJ? You like?
Yeah, I would say is everyone, any high level fighter you talk to in mixed martial arts, there's Muay Thai, there's boxing, there's
wrestling,
Taekwondo, wrestling. No matter who you are, you're going to gravitate towards one of them.
Right.
And for me, my passion is jiu-jitsu.
Okay.
Jiu-jitsu is.
You a black belt?
Brown belt.
Brown belt.
I've been a brown belt for a while now.
Yeah. People don't realize jiu-jitsu is not like karate where you pay for belts.
No.
Black belt in jiu-jitsu is takes a long time.
You gotta earn it, man.
Yeah.
I mean, I compete against black belts. I go against black belts all the time. It's more. It's not about can you beat black belts and do you have the knowledge. It's more about experience.
Right.
Jiu-jitsu is more of it's a journey. It's not about paying for your black belt or you're gonna get it in 3 years.
Yeah.
I've been doing jiu-jitsu for a while. I compete in Metamorphs, which is basically like the Olympics of jiu-jitsu, and I competed against the number one guy in the world and went to a draw. So.
Really?
Yeah. So jiu-jitsu for me. Cyborg Abreu.
Okay.
He won Abu Dhabi. It was a big deal, man. It was a big match for me. So it was a little controversial because people wanted me to go in there and make mistakes. And there's actually a thing online that said, how long is Brendan Schaub going to last? Because jiu-jitsu is not the way I make a living.
Right.
It's doing, fighting in the UFC.
Right. So
for me to go out of my element and focus strictly on jiu-jitsu,
Yeah.
and then to go with the number one guy in the world, and he can't submit me, it created a lot of controversy.
Right.
People were upset.
A good controversy.
Super upset. Oh, yeah. Listen, when you walk out, if they're cheering or booing, you're good. It's when you walk out, it's complete silence.
Right.
That means they just don't give a shit.
Yeah.
So
you're on this path, and then now you branch into media.
Mm-hmm.
So my audience, I'm all about this. I call it the good life. It's like health, wealth, love, happiness, what everybody's seeking. So people go after it different ways. You're obviously going down this destiny that seems natural for you. And I'll asked this question early, but it's a deep question, so we're switching around. If you could go back, knowing everything you know now, what would be the thing you do different?
That's a great question. I don't know if I would change anything.
Okay.
I don't know if I'd change anything because the only regrets I have in life are in my career was I was surrounded by MMA royalty from the very start. You're talking, I walked into practice and I didn't have any fights, and I had George St. Pierre, Rashad Evans, Shane Carwin, Nate Marquardt, Keith Jardine. These were the guys surrounded by. And if you know, I don't know your listeners, but if you know MMA, you're going to know these guys. These are the superstars of the UFC at the time. Exactly. So I was this young kid around those guys. All I wanted to be is like them. So I took the fast path. You know, I wanted to be a world champion right away. It doesn't work that way. So for me, I had 3 fights, got called by The Ultimate Fighter. I was on season 10 of The Ultimate Fighter, ended up being a finalist. And right away, I just wanted to get a title shot as fast as possible because everyone around me were these superstars. Yeah. So the only way to make myself feel complete was to get on their same level.
Right.
So I think I had 4 wins in a row. I just beat Mirko Krokop.
You beat Mirko?
Mirko Krokop.
Oh man, I remember when that guy was rampaging through the pride, and people were like, "Nobody can beat this guy." Dude, I think it was Nogueira. That brought him down.
Yep. So fought Mirko Krokop, beat him, and I'm crying for a title shot. If I could redo it again and I could talk to myself, I'd be like, bro, slow down. Because I wasn't ready for what was next. Yeah. I beat Mirko Krokop, then I fight Nogueira in Brazil, and I asked for that fight because I wanted a title shot.
So you fought Nogueira?
I fought Nogueira in his hometown.
Yeah. Well, what happened to that one?
I lost in the first round. Yeah. And when I think about it, I was just a very cocky, kind of naive kid.
But at least you lost to one of the. Nogueira is one of the legends of all time.
Yeah,
heavyweight guy.
For sure. And I don't. It's nothing to be,
no
sad
shame
about.
in that.
There's no shame.
It's like losing 1-on-1 to Michael Jordan. Nobody's gonna laugh for that long.
Yeah.
You want to try?
Yeah, but at the same time, I was just very mature. I wasn't ready for that magnitude of a fight.
Right.
And so things weren't going well in Denver, and I knew I had to make a change. And I talk about having a fixed mindset. I had a very fixed mindset in Denver. Okay. Where I was doing this every day, and this was the way to be a champion. And you have to have a growth mindset. Right. You have to in this sport, or it's going to pass you by.
Yeah, there's I teach this thing called the 67 steps, and 67 steps to get what you want, and it's a compilation of all. It's not what I teach. It's a compilation of all the great thinkers throughout history, the most successful people. And number 2, I call it blue-footed booby birds, because that's what Charles Darwin found when he came up with the theory of evolution. And they wrote about Charles Darwin. If you want to summarize what he says it's not there's a guy named Megginson, a professor. He said Darwin said this: it's not the strongest that survive. It's not the most intelligent. It's the most adaptable to the situation. So, like you said, most of us, that's a bias in our brain. It's called there's 25 cognitive biases that make us make mistakes. One's certainty bias. So we get, like you said, you get rigid, and you don't realize, like, the world, it's an egocentric. We all fall prey to it. It's like the world out there is adapting on its own, and if you don't adapt with it, doesn't matter how strong or how smart you are, you will lose that game.
Every time.
Yeah. So that's cool. That you're talking about going slow. They call it the 10 dark years. Pablo Picasso had that. You got to go through your dark years. Bill Gates said from age 20 to age 30, I never took a day off. He just was in this little cubicle working, and then he comes out a billionaire. Yeah. So it's like you said, you got to respect the cycles. There's a spring, summer.
You got to pay your dues.
Yeah.
You got to pay your dues. And if you look at anyone at the top, everyone's had a downfall at some point. Fighting's easy. When you're going in and you're knocking guys out in 30 seconds in a minute, this sport's easy. Right. It's how you bounce back from losses and how you deal with that. And the UFC's in a unique position where no one's going undefeated. No one's really undefeated.
It's too competitive now. It's like,
especially at heavyweight, it's just tough, man. If you haven't been knocked out, you're not fighting tough enough guys.
Yeah, exactly. So let's switch gears here. So we're talking about, kind of success. Let's talk about just physical stuff. Everybody realizes now in the modern world, it's like, take care of your body. It's your one asset. You can't recover from very well. What's your routine in terms of diet? Are you like one of those sticklers? Are you never touching alcohol, never touching candy, or what do you feel like on that?
You know what? I only touch that stuff if there's a reason to celebrate. If I have a reason to celebrate, win a big fight, sign a big contract, I'll celebrate for maybe a day. That night I'll celebrate. But other than that, I really, if I do it outside that, I almost feel like this sense of guilty or I'm slacking or something like that. So it's just my life's too competitive, man, to mess with that stuff.
Yeah.
It really is. Like I said, if there's if I win a big fight that night, I might have a couple beers. I can't tell you the last time I was drunk in public.
Really?
I think it's a bad look. If you're in kind of the public eye, the spotlight, it's just a bad. You're looked at a role model. So it's just giving people say, well, if he does it and he's fighting at this level, it's okay if I do it.
Yeah.
So it's just not a good thing.
Yep. So in terms of, give us a routine, a day in the life of, in terms of physically. You waking up, you doing. I was reading The Rock. I just saw Hercules. You see Hercules?
I did see Hercules.
What'd you think?
Go, tell me your thoughts before I just destroy this.
Well, here's the thing. I always go into movies going, am I trying to learn something or am I just here for pure entertainment? If you're trying to learn something, there's probably not a ton there. If you're just there for like, I want to have my brain turn off for 2 hours, or that was a short movie, it was like an hour.
It was 20. Super short. First of all, there's no bigger fan than The Rock than me. I love The Rock. He's like the only alpha male left in Hollywood. If you think about Hollywood.
Arnold.
Like
Arnold.
Vin Diesel.
Right.
Are you kidding? Have you seen what Vin Diesel has been doing lately?
No.
I mean, doing his karaoke, singing Rihanna and shit. It's not. He's not an alpha male. He couldn't be any less alpha male. And he's our action star. So The Rock is like our Arnold now.
Yeah.
So I went to, and he's come along. I love The Rock. I saw The Tooth Fairy. Okay, I've seen The Tooth Fairy. I saw all of his movies. Be Cool, he was dope in Be Cool, Walking Tall, all those movies. I love them. So I went to The Rock, I went to Hercules, I was excited about it. Dude, I was so disappointed. That movie was some straight shit. It was awful, man. If The Rock wasn't in it, it would have been like a WB special on a Sunday afternoon. It's one of those movies where if you take him out and it was a Sunday afternoon, I might look through it on the WB, but other than that, it was awful, man.
So we'll give that.
The acting was so bad. It was no plot development.
Yeah.
And this is the thing. My life's so intense, punching each other in the face. I search out the toughest guys in the world to make myself better in the octagon. Yeah. So outside of that, I don't need intense stuff. So I don't go to action movies. I watch Real Housewives of Orange County.
Right.
I watch The Bachelorette.
You gotta balance the yin and yang.
Yeah, man, you need that. So I don't need intense stuff. So I learned I can't go to these bullshit action movies anymore.
Right.
I like my favorite movies are romantic comedies.
Really?
Or I like
go see that beginning. Is it Beginning End?
Beginning End.
I didn't see it.
Good, man. Yeah,
I'll see it.
You like that one.
So with action movies, they do nothing for me. I don't need to turn off and watch.
Right. You're like, my life is an action movie.
Yeah. Nah, man. I don't need to see a dude, on different supplements, all tan and greased up, killing guys with a sword. It does nothing for me, man. I literally turned off. I was like, oh no, I messed up. I'm not here right now.
2 hours of my life.
Dude, I love The Rock. I'd rather just go up to him like, bro, here's $40, man.
Yeah.
I love what you do. Here's $40.
Direct. You don't have to give you don't have to give a cut to Warner Brothers, whoever produced that movie.
Straight to him.
Legendary.
I'd rather just give him the money, like, I love you, man. Straight to him, So I feel bad too. I wish I could give him a good review, but one thing I've learned about podcasts and why our podcast does so well with I Am a Kid is, and other podcasts, when I've been on other podcasts, what makes them successful is there's no bullshit.
Right, no
you're
old
raw,
yeah.
man. Emotions, all that. People can sense when you're being fake.
Yeah.
So for me, I love The Rock, but I cannot give you a bullshit critique.
Yeah.
I just can't do it.
Well, cool. I like that. I think for me, like I said, it's all about these movies now. It's all about ROI. They're trying to make money on them, and if they have to pull off something that's dumb, if they think they can make money, they do it.
You know what though? Society's changing because now you have Twitter. So
right, exactly.
And I would never do this, but they used to be able to pull a fast one over you where they'd throw all this media and previews at you. You're like shit, and for 6 weekends they're getting paid.
Yeah.
Nah, man, you have Friday, Saturday before people send out tweets are like, this movie's awful. Yeah. Then you see the movie go.
Yeah, for sure.
Social media, Twitter will kill movie reviews now.
It's a good thing about Jeff. I was just reading the Amazon store, the Everything store about Jeff Bezos. He made $38 billion. And when he first came to Amazon, he's like, I want to build this around reviews. People can write about the books. and the publishers went nuts because they're like, what if people buy bad reviews? And Jeff Bezos said, look, let's build something authentic. If you put out a bad book, don't put out bad books, and you don't have to work. Because if you do something well now, the upside, the risk reward, sure, if you make a bad movie, it gets tweeted out and you get destroyed. But if you make something good and you don't even have a big budget, now it can get tweeted out or hit social media and you can get rich.
Yep.
That happened with, I mean, just look at the, what is it, Paranormal Activity.
Purge.
Purge is not a
Purge
good
1 or 2? Purge 1 or 2?
Well, they both made a lot.
Purge 1's legit.
Yeah.
2, I was like, damn. And my boy's in it. I was like, damn. Yeah. Yeah.
Cool. So, all right. So, going back to this day in the life, like Rock, it's like, so what's your day look like physically? Are you, because, he does his workout at 4 in the morning. Are you one of those kind of guys? Or?
All right, so this is the difference between me and The Rock. And again, I love The Rock, but The Rock plays a tough guy.
Yeah.
I actually compete, and this is what Rock acts like is in my actual life.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So
you're getting punched in the face.
Yeah.
I was going to write a book, and I was going to make the title, Never Trust a Man That Hasn't Been Punched in the Face.
I agree. And as far as Hollywood goes, no one's tougher than The Rock. Like, it's like he's our alpha male. He's our Arnold right now. So a day in the life for me, I'm waking up at 8 a.m., I have to be at Jiu-Jitsu in Torrance with the Gracie brothers.
Oh, you do Gracie Jiu-Jitsu?
Oh, yeah. Huron and Henner Gracie.
Yeah.
I'm there by 10 a.m.
Okay.
I'll do my workout there. I'll go home. I try to get in the ocean.
How long are you there for usually?
Hour and a half, 2 hours, rolling with both of them. And with rolling with them, it's like rolling with aliens, man. They were just, they were doing Jiu-Jitsu since they were in diapers. So it's a different level. So being there, really,
so you're working directly with them.
What'd you say?
You're working right with them.
Oh yeah. Huron, Henner, and I'll do the classes. I'll jump in the regular classes, but Henner and I and Huron will do privates together. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah,
so then you said you like the beach.
I try to go. I live very close to the ocean, so I try to go in the ocean every day. Just to take advantage of it. And I think it's good just for your mind, body, and soul. I think there's no better place than the ocean for a fighter, and just for everyone in general. The ocean has this weird kind of sense to it where when I'm in the ocean, everything's all right. No matter how stressed out I am, when I get in the water, it's all good.
Yeah, well, it's my mom says it's negative ions. That's the science. It's like a grounding effect that comes from the ocean. Cool. And then diet-wise, are you eating 5 meals a day? Eating 1 meal?
You know what? Not really. Everyone thinks because I'm a heavyweight, I eat all this food. Like last weekend, I was in San Jose for the UFC, and I was with Joe Rogan, and some of his buddies. We went to this burrito place, and the burrito place said, "Oh, but we were famous for the Godzilla burrito, 20-foot burrito." And there's like girls behind me, like track with girls I'm trying to hit on. And his friend goes, hey, Schaub, you can get the Godzilla burrito? I'm like, no, why the fuck would I get the Godzilla burrito? It's just because I'm big. Everyone's like, yeah, bro, Godzilla burrito. I'm like, no, chill, man. So I don't eat that.
Is it really a 20-foot burrito?
It's like this giant burrito covered in cheese and fucking, just because I'm the biggest guy in the room, everyone's like, oh, Schaub's getting the Godzilla burrito. I was like super embarrassed, man. Or any of that stuff. I think the reason why I act the way I do is I feel like we're the same size.
Right.
I do. I don't feel like a big guy. I have a big guy's body, but I have the mind and the heart of a smaller guy. I always feel like I'm the underdog in every situation. Yeah. So I feel like we're the same size, man.
Right.
Like the other day I was training with Chael Sonnen, and he kept saying how big I am. I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? He's like, do you realize how much bigger you are than everyone? Yeah. I'm like, no, man.
But that's probably an advantage to you. They call that contrast bias. Second, you see yourself as an underdog, you take the approach, you work it, you're like, I have to earn it.
I would say this, if everyone took the approach as if you're an underdog, you'd be doing a lot better. Well, the moment you think you're a favorite, the moment you think you're a favorite, or the moment you get comfortable, you're screwed, man.
But to a lot of these top guys, like Steve Jobs, they were adopted. Jeff Bezos adopted it, and part of that, they say, it puts this like deep-rooted anxiety, just enough in there, that it makes you go, you have to earn it, because there's not always, your parents, that's a fundamental support system. Yeah. So a lot of adopted people go on to do big things. And it's like you said, that's a real advantage if you can get your mind wrapped around that.
Every morning I wake up with a sense of fear. Just a sense of fear of losing my job, losing my house, my car. Yep. I'm motivated by fear, and I'm just always uncomfortable.
Well, yeah,
which is weird to say. I'm always uncomfortable.
Yeah, but you also conquered the fear. It's like Charlie Munger, the self-made billionaire. He says, every day I've woken up expecting or preparing for the worst, and it's made me happier for it.
Yeah.
People, there's like this movement in the world that everything's just positive speaking, and there is some truth to that, but there's also a balance, like you said, is letting the fear, harnessing the fear. The fear is like a stallion, a horse, man. If you can harness it, it'll take you places.
Yeah.
You know? Alexander the Great, he conquered the known world by 31, and he said, in every person has this battle between themselves and fear. And the only two categories are people who conquer the fear, or people who suffer or die and never conquer it. So you have to be, you've got the fear, you don't ignore it, you're not delusional, but yet, in a sense, you're harnessing it.
Yeah, I think for people, it's really, they're most of them are scared of it, scared to try new things, scared to switch things up, scared to take these risks in fear that they're going to fail.
Yeah.
I think failure is the biggest thing why people don't take these risks.
Yeah.
For sure. But I honestly believe no one believes themselves more than I do. Yeah. No way, man. I think if the UFC called me up right now, whoever they want me to fight, cool, let's do it. I can beat them. But I still have that fear. So no one believes themselves more than I do. But at the same time, you can't be scared to fail.
Yeah.
I mean, what happened? Because I think a lot of people don't take these risks because they can say, well, I was going to do this.
Yeah.
I was going to do this. So I just don't want to be that guy.
I call it the 500-year-old medieval mind. We all have this mindset, which was, 500 years ago, if you said the earth is round, not flat, they might burn you at the stake, right? It's like a black and white world. And we've unfortunately adopted a lot of those memes, those mental ideas, those concepts, when really, like you said, it's like, even the word failure, if we could eliminate that from our vocabulary and just say it's experiments moving towards a goal. Thomas Edison said he was at a rate, he died with one of the richest men in the world, one of the most influential. He died with 1,100 patents. He said it took me at times 1,000 failed experiments to get one patent.
For sure.
So him, it wasn't a failure, it was just a movement towards, it's like, I say, we're all moving in time towards something. The concept of failure is more, am I closer to getting toward my end game? If you're closer, if you lose a fight, but you're closer to your end game, 100%. It's not a failure.
You're right. And
a failure is getting off track.
A failure is losing a fight and just kind of giving up and not going back to work.
Yeah, because then you're not headed toward an outcome.
And they asked me to talk to young fighters, and for me, you got to look at it as a journey. You got to look at your body of work. Yeah. Everyone's going to lose, man.
Exactly.
Everyone's going to lose. It's how you react,
yeah.
And it's the end goal. It's not this one time right now.
Yeah.
So you just got to keep moving.
Mike Tyson, I read a book, he said, man, every time I got in the ring, even when he was on top of it, because when Tyson was on top, there's very few fighters that were ever on top in terms of recognition. He was like...
Most guys were lost before the fight.
Oh, yeah. But
just the Mike Tyson effect.
But he said, I was afraid. I just didn't let anyone know. I harnessed the fear.
First of all, as far as being afraid, I'll tell you this right now. Every single fighter I've ever been in the back with, cornered, everyone is terrified.
Yeah.
It's just not natural to go out there and get punched in the face and have this huge risk and go out there and you're going to fight another guy. If they told me right now, if they said, listen, man, you and I are going to fight. You and I are going to fight in 3 months. I'm going to be nervous.
Right.
It's a fight. Yeah. Let alone fighting a professional monster in the UFC. Yeah. So nerves are natural. It takes a special kind of individual to realize this fear and still walk out and compete. So that's what makes a UFC athlete different than NFL, NBA, NHL. Though a lot of them, everyone asks me, they go, well, think about if LeBron James decided to do the UFC. How would he do? LeBron James wouldn't walk out of the tunnel.
Right.
LeBron James would be in the back and like, fuck this.
Yeah.
A lot of guys, UFC fighters, when I'm in the back there, I'm thinking to myself, what the fuck am I doing?
Right.
What am I doing, man?
Right.
What am I doing right now? I could be doing a million other things making money. But it takes a special kind of individual to go, dude, you've been trained for 12 weeks. This is what you do. Yeah. And once I hit the crowd, I'm good. It's showtime. But in the back, it's just natural for your brain to go, you're about to get hurt, don't do this.
Yeah.
And a lot of these other athletes would be in the back, they would never even get to the octagon to attempt it. Because of failure, because of fear, because they might get hurt. Yeah. We wouldn't see LeBron James walk out.
So it's this unique mentality. It's true because it's a one-on-one sport. There's no team to hide behind. Mm-hmm. And you're getting the raw aggression of another person. You know, I tell people not everybody can fight in the UFC, and I tell people, I'm like, read biographies. I just read the story. It's a good story for you about alpha male. So going back to Alexander the Great, his father, now he had a mentor, Aristotle, from 14 to 16, the greatest thinker, but his father, Philip, was one of the great conquerors. His father had no eye. An arrow had hit him in the eye, and he had kept fighting. And Alexander the Great went and he conquered this one city. They were scaling the walls like you see in the movies on these scaffolding. Him and 3 guys got to the top. There was a couple hundred people, enemies there, and the scaffolding broke. All of his people disappeared. I mean, they fell. So he was looking out, Alexander the Great, they were in India actually, 3 guys against 300. Now, most people would have jumped off the wall out of fear because they would torch you back then if they caught you.
Yeah.
But he did something unexpected. He said, charge. And they charged 4 guys, like 300 enemies. And the enemies were so thrown off by this boldness that it bought him time. His 3 guys died. He survived. He had an arrow in his shoulder, almost killed him, but he survived till his reinforcements came. And that's like a UFC fighter. It's like, it's just me and another person. And if you conquer the fear, you're the next Alexander.
It's that fight or flight a little bit,
Yeah.
you know? But at the same time, when you do decide to fight, it's being in this kind of cerebral zone where you're not panicking. Because if you panic, you're going to lose very fast and get knocked out.
Yeah.
It's about having this fear and these butterflies, and everyone's going to have these butterflies, and it's getting these butterflies to form in the same direction and work for you. Because you can get that nervousness, those nerves, that fear, and those butterflies to work in one direction, work for you.
Yeah.
It's getting to that point. And I've had 11 UFC fights now. I've had 18 fights total. And I had boxing before that. I've had tons of jiu-jitsu matches. I'm just now starting to be able to tunnel those butterflies. Really? Yeah, just now.
How many years has it been really since you consider?
7.
So yeah, it's just like the 10 darky. You're coming out of that if you can stick to it. Now let's talk about something I talk a lot about: mentors. If you study, whether it be Arnold Schwarzenegger, almost every great, Phil Jackson, people have mentors. Who, and what role did mentors have in your success? Now, if you look back and you're like, you were talking about some of the Gracie.
Yeah.
Who else? What's made a biggest difference?
You know, I think mentors, it's all about what stage you are in life. You're going to get different mentors at different times of your life. Number one for me would be my dad.
Okay.
By far, my dad. I remember when I was really young playing Pop Warner football, I wanted to go play with the rest of the kids and play grab ass and eat cotton candy. My dad was like, dude, you have practice.
Yeah.
You have to go to practice. I was like, no, I don't want to do that. I want to go play with these kids and get my hands sticky and do whatever the bullshit we do. And my dad's like, cool, then you're going to walk up to the coach and tell me you quit. Let me know how that feels. I'm going to take you up there and you're going to tell me you quit. And I was super scared and went up there and I couldn't do it. And my dad was like, you made a commitment to this team, so you're not going to let them down. So I learned from a very early age that no matter how rough it gets, you committed to this, you're going to get through it. So
that's the first. You're a little bit like Arnold. Arnold was like, I read a book. People know me for reading a book a day, and I'm like, because that's absorbing the mentors from these great guys too. And his was his father. His father used to say, before you can eat breakfast, you got to do 5 push-ups.
Yeah.
So his dad was rewiring his brain to go physical exertion equals reward of food. That's why Arnold and Stay Hungry and all those was like, when I pump, it's like an organ. It's better than organ.
Yeah.
So your dad was training into you like this toughness.
Yeah, as far as mentors go, for sure my dad, number one. And then for me, really, and I talk about this, especially on this podcast, just this underdog mentality. I played at the University of Colorado, and I was a walk-on to the team.
Oh, okay.
And when you start as a walk-on, no one knows your name. You get called by your number. You don't get the same things that these other players get. So to me, I always feel like I'm that kid. Even now, as an established fighter, as doing pretty well. Even now, I just feel like I'm gonna get left out.
Yeah.
Like I remember the biggest thing to me, being in Denver and playing for University of Colorado is a big deal. Wearing that golden helmet is a huge deal. Yeah. And the very first time I made the team, and I was doing really well, and it was our first home game, and I could not wait to get my jersey. And I remember showing up to the locker room being like, man, hopefully I get a jersey. Of course I'm going to get a jersey.
Right.
But my mentality is, damn, hopefully my
Right.
jersey's there. I remember opening my locker, seeing the jersey, and I was like, oh, hell yeah, my name was spelled wrong.
Oh, no.
The biggest day, I'm like, oh, hell no. So, open that locker, seeing your name spelled wrong, I feel like that's going to happen all the time.
Yeah.
Just all the time. It's weird, man. So, that mentality and...
And they didn't have your nickname, Big Brown. Well, tell us a story.
I wish they had the nickname Big
That
Brown.
would have been badass. It would have been like Jim
I-
Brown.
I wish Big Brown was going on back then.
Yeah.
A hell of a lot farther than
Where did that come from?
Big Brown, this is interesting. So, the Fighter and the Kid podcast, my partner Brian Callen.
And those of you who don't know Brian Callen, one of the funniest comedians.
On
Like
The
on a Laugh
Hangover,
Factory.
Sex and the
But he's
City.
funny in stand-up too.
The best
he does that
stand-up
whole
ever.
thing about where he's like, man, always has a tough guy.
El
And he's
Gato.
like,
El
Gato.
Gato.
He goes, I wish. He's like, I wanted to have a girl on my shoulder and a machine gun. And he's like, but he's like, I'm not that big of a guy. And I feel like I might not be able to carry her.
So
he says, I'm built more for dance.
Built like this, yeah. So
you should do stand up with them. That'd be a good.
We've done live Fighting the Kid podcast.
Okay, but you haven't gone on the stage at the Laugh Factory,
man,
dude.
never.
I would like to see that. I'll
right?
come. I'll support.
I wish. So Brian and I, first time we did a podcast together, it was on. He had his own podcast at the time, and he was like, "Oh, what's your nickname?" Brian's a huge fight fan, especially UFC, and the producers of The Ultimate Fighter was on Spike at the time. Gave me the nickname The Hybrid because I'm not a huge heavyweight, but I hit like a heavyweight and I have the cardio of a lightweight. So they call me the hybrid of the heavyweights. So my nickname, most people know me as the hybrid. So Brian was like, bro, you're not the hybrid. He goes,
sounds like a Prius.
Right? Yeah. He goes, you're Big Brown. I go, why the hell am I Big Brown? He goes, because you're big and you're brown. I'm tan all the time, right? And he's like, what ethnicity are you? My mom was born and raised in England. My dad's German, French, Italian. And he goes, you're clearly Apache Indian. You're Big Brown. So, and he would say it on our podcast all the time, and the Fighter Kids started to pick up. And
is that where the Fighter and the Kid? It's like
he refers to himself as the Kid.
Oh, he's the
and
kid.
I'm the Fighter.
Okay.
Yes, Fighter and the Kid.
Okay.
Brian's a 47-year-old kid.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but it works. So he just started calling me Big Brown, and then before I fought Andre Arlovsky, we did a podcast that week, and Brian goes, bro, we have got, because everyone called me Big Brown. I would post on Twitter or Instagram at Brendan Schaub. I would post something like Team Schaub or Team Hybrid.
Yeah.
We would get 30 comments of, where's Team Big Brown? Where's Team Big Brown? My brother's telling me, dude, you gotta acknowledge this.
Right.
We have got to do something about this. So the producer of the show goes, bro, how many tweets would it take for you to change your name to Big Brown? And I go, I don't know, man. I mean, if there's a big enough outcry, for sure I'd change if that's what people want. Dana White and Bruce Buffer, I said, all right, tag at UFC, at Dana White, at Bruce Buffer. They got over 4,000 people telling them to change my nickname. So that's how it got changed, and here we are now, Big Brown.
That's a good name, man. You know what? The first thing that comes to my mind is football.
Yeah.
Which is good because you have some roots in football.
For sure.
You know?
And what's weird about football is when I first got to UFC, they would play this football card all the time. Former football player, and I'm like, no, man, come on, I'm a martial artist. I hated when they bring up football. And I just think I was a little bit, sour towards football, and now I embrace it now. But now I'm more established fighter, so people know me more as a fighter than football.
It's that
that time is just insecurities and stuff like that.
Well, it's like you said, when you're young, you don't realize. Play your cards right, and things will evolve.
Yeah.
You know? So, here's a question for you. The moment you're in the octagon, you're fighting somebody, who was this guy you're like, all of them are tough, but you're like, this guy's on another level that I'm fighting. At least against you. Like, you're like, this guy's a match for me.
Yeah. I would say, man, that's a great question.
It's kind of what I call it, where you're like, I might be in trouble right now.
You know what?
Not in a fearful way, but where you're like, this guy's good.
Mirko Cro Cop. When I fought Mirko Cro Cop, I didn't get him in his prime when he was in Pride, but I fought him when he was a big deal. And I just remember, again, I was a cocky kid, I remember thinking, I'm going to smoke this guy. I'm going to go in, I'm going to beat the shit out of this guy. And it went, I think I ended up knocking him out with a minute left in the third round.
Wow.
He threw an elbow against my nose that I had to have reconstructive nose surgery. Hit me with an elbow that shattered my nose. Wow. I remember being in the second round like, oh, damn, we are in a dogfight, my man.
Yeah.
And we're going back and forth.
So he hit harder. It was like, ooh, this guy.
He hit me with an elbow, and I was like, why am I tired? It's early in the second round. And I felt my nose, and I was like, oh, man. It just felt like pure mush jello. And the blood was so intense, I couldn't breathe. It was going down my throat nonstop. And then I ended up getting knocked out of the night, knocked him out with a minute left in the third round. So busted up. And I just remember after the fight, the doctors checked you out. Me and him were just sitting in the back and just looking at each other, gave each other a hug, man. It was a cool moment.
Nice. So it was like you made it. I mean, he's a legend or was a legend.
Yeah. Still is.
I mean, he was a real deal, and he's a tough. You can tell Mirko is like those Eastern European guys are like cut from a different cloth.
For sure.
It's like I'm fighting a real guy.
Yeah.
You would put it this way: at 75. You wouldn't want to mess with Mirko Krokop.
Not a chance.
You're like, this guy may take my life.
There's a couple of guys like that where I've had those oh shit moments. I fought a guy, LeVar Johnson, who we suspected he was on different supplements than I was. We went to weigh-ins. I told my coach, I was like, damn, that dude is big. My coach was like, nah, you guys are the same size, man. I go, really? Damn, I feel good. We get in the fight, and I remember looking across the octagon, I'm like, that is a big dude, man.
And you're big. How big are you? How tall are you?
I'm 6'4", 250 right now.
Yeah.
I fight about 6'4", 240 when I'm in crazy shape. So going against him, I remember we get in the clinch, and I'm like, I mean, this dude, if you ever seen Ace Ventura, like, it's not Snowflake, where the shark gets him.
Yeah.
It was like, I got in the clinch, I was like, oh shit. Like,
I've
I've never felt so strong, and I was like, the game plan was to stand up and knock him out.
Yeah.
I was like, forget this, and just kept taking him down, trying to wear his big ass out. That was one of the moments where I was like, this dude is eating different potatoes than I am. And
he's the hybrid.
And
That's the hybrid.
And he actually got busted for steroids for that fight and got cut from the UFC.
Wow.
Yep, after he failed the steroid test.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, if you're listening, I didn't say anything negative against you, coming back. Steroids can do things to people's aggression level, too.
Dude, in pro sports, it's a big deal. As far as other oh shit moments, football. I remember the first down I ever played in college football. I remember running to the field and being like, holy shit, here we go. I remember running and just being like, dang, because you've thought about it for so long. I was a fullback, tight end.
Fullback, okay.
And the way I got my first play is it was on special teams kickoff against Colorado State, which is a huge rival of ours. And it was in the third quarter, and the starter was tired, and I went up to him, and he was a good friend of mine. We were roommates in camp. His name was Lawrence Vickers, second-round draft pick. Monster, just a monster on the football field. He was tired, and I went up to him. He knew I was his backup. There was no way I was going to play with this superstar. Mm-hmm. He was just this crazy, the captain of the team. And he was tired. I went up to him. I go, LV. We call him LV. I'm like, LV, let me go in. He's like, yeah, go get him. The coaches didn't even know. So I run onto the field.
You go into that's a good thing about football. You have helmets. They can't always
tell. There's a lot going on.
Yeah.
Bam, Big Brown's cutting in. So I jumped in, got on the field, made a huge tackle on kickoff.
And they're like, LV. Oh, wait.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, shit.
That guy's name spelled wrong.
And
what was the name? What was the misspelling?
They spelled it Schuab, and it's Schaub.
Okay.
Schaub. So, so for me, I snuck on the field, made a huge play, and since then, they're like, all right, cool. And it just started from there. I started getting more plays.
Isn't it funny, like these little accidents? When you look back through people, it's like Michael Jordan getting cut from the high school team. It's like little things which are catalysts for the next thing.
Yeah.
Life has like a destiny that unfolds. You got to walk through it, though. Most people are afraid to just go through it.
You got to walk through it. I think it's more about taking risks. I was willing to go out there and listen. If I didn't make that play, I would have got tossed around. My helmet fell off my jersey. I got my ass whooped. Then at least I tried. This isn't for you. Move on to something else. Because nothing's more clear cut than high level sports, whether it's for you or not. In the UFC, if you go out there and you get tossed around and you lose 4 fights in a row, it's time to move on. Yeah. I just had a talk with a good friend of mine. He lost 3 fights in a row, and he called me and goes, what do you think? I said, I think it's time to move on.
Yeah.
I think it's time to start thinking about doing something else.
The great business guru, Peter F. Drucker, he said, most people think they know what they're good at. Most people are wrong. Even more people think they know what they're weak at. Even then, many people are wrong. He said, but you can only build on strength. So he says you got to use feedback analysis. That's what you're saying. You're like, dude, read the feedback. you're losing 3 or 4, find the strength to build on. Because at the end of the day, we're all headed to the end of life, right? There's no good or bad. It's like your friend. It's like, dude, you can pull off another destiny. That's just as valid.
Yeah.
And really, even if it's not as valid, you don't have a choice. You're not
really
going to
make
the cut. Yeah.
No, you really don't. They're going to make the choice for you.
Yes.
UFC is going to cut you.
Yeah.
And you don't need to stay on this journey.
Yeah.
Everyone's going to retire. You have to stop playing sports at some time.
Yeah.
Whether it's at 40 years old,
Yeah.
or at 16, or maybe it's at 12 for some who just have no athletic ability.
Right.
At some point, you have to stop. Just
Yeah.
some people's games are longer because there's more talent.
Like Charles Barkley says, Hall of Fame basketball player, he's like, Father Time's undefeated. That's the one undefeated source right there.
Yeah, for sure.
So let's this is an important question. Let's wrap up with this important question that I am always interested when I'm with somebody like you that's achieved so many things that people just wish they could do. You're actually doing it. Let's say today you found out it's your last day on Earth for whatever reason.
Like right now at 2 o'clock?
2 o'clock.
Okay. Or do I wake up? Like
You've got till midnight. We'll
Damn.
play. We got till midnight.
Well, it won't start because LA traffic by the time I get
All right, I'm gonna add an hour for LA
Okay.
Hollywood traffic. You got till 1 in the morning.
Okay.
You've got to leave a journal for whether it be for your future grandkids or whatever. And it's like here's my manual for life. What's the manual say?
The manual, man, that's a great question. There's so much that goes into it. I would die writing and probably get half of it out.
But since you only have, let's say you have a chance to write 2 or 3 things.
Yeah.
And there's no right or wrong. It's just a thought experiment.
Yeah. Oh man, for me, I would put don't be afraid to fail.
Okay.
I think if I didn't take the risk that I did, I definitely wouldn't be here, and I still have a long ways to go. I would probably write down. I call it the Cheeto Fingers motivational talk. Okay. I'm actually going to give it to Ohio State August 17th football team.
Can we hear a preview?
You know what? It just stemmed from I went to go watch these fights with this guy, and I hate watching fights with just regular people. I know it sounds horrible and come off as a dick.
Right.
I like to watch fights by myself or with people I know because they're not going to ask me a million questions. I
Right.
enjoy the fight.
They're not going to be like, what would you do? What would you do?
Yeah, or I'll hear stupid stuff like, these guys are tough. These guys are sweating. Man, these guys are tough.
These
like,
guys
I'm
are
like,
sweaty. World's worst commentary.
Bro, so
pro
it drives me
football.
nuts. So I like to watch it just in complete silence. And my TV was on the fritz. I don't know what's going on with it, but I couldn't order this pay-per-view fight. And a very close friend of mine was fighting, and she's the best in the world. I knew it was going to be a quick fight, so I had to see it. And I called my coach. I'm like, bro, let's order over your house. I'll pay for it. He goes, man, I'm going with Sky's house. I'm like, oh no. But that was the only way I was going to see it. He's like, I know you hate this. I'll pick you up. So I'm like, damn. I go over there, and I walk in, and everyone's like, oh shit. But watching UFC, so UFC fans like, Brendan Schaub's watching the UFC with us, blah, blah, blah. So I'm sitting down, I see this guy in the corner, and he's just kind of a mopey Larry, just like,
Yeah.
and he has Cheeto fingers. He's been eating Cheetos, smoking weed, he has on a Grateful Dead shirt, and I'm just like, damn, this dude needs some sort of advice.
This is the guy's house.
It's the guy's house. And
So you can't kick him out.
Can't kick him out. The only one's leaving is me.
Right.
So I was like, he's asking me these questions, but it's not about fighting, it's about life. And so I just kind of told this guy, man, you gotta get your shit together, bro. Like, whatever you're doing, stop doing it. Yeah. You're here smoking weed, eating junk food. You got Cheetos all over your hands. You got a freaking Grateful Dead shirt on that it wasn't like a vintage cool one.
Right.
It was like he's been wearing it since college.
Right.
It was just this whole typhoon of bullshit loserism, I like to call it. And I just sat down and talked to him like, you got to make changes, man. I can tell you're unhappy. And me and him just started talking back and forth, and I think it worked. And, I just call it the Cheetos Fingers story. It's just about kind of getting your shit together, man. That's the bottom line. Yeah. Just kind of attacking life and not being what we talked about, not being afraid to fail and stuff like that.
Awesome. Yeah, it's like I tell people, read the obvious signs. Sometimes I tell people, take off all your clothes, go to the mirror. You want to know about your physical health?
Yeah.
Get naked in front of a mirror, look at yourself. The feedback's all there.
For sure.
You want to know how you're doing financially? Log into Bank of America or wherever you bank.
Yeah, man.
Look honestly at the thing and be like, I'm doing too well.
Yeah.
And it's the Cheeto fingers of finance. Look at your social life. If you hate who you're dating or married, you can't stand it, be like, need to make a change. I like that. I'm going to add that. Cheeto. I'm going to be like, you're Cheeto fingering it, man.
Cheeto fingers, because the thing is it's a lot to change, man. It's
right.
gonna be, this is what I was telling you guys, it's gonna be a beast to get that cheese off your fingers, man.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a beast to break up with the girl you hate. It's gonna be a beast to get out of that lease of your bullshit Prius. Yeah. It's gonna take some work, my man. It's gonna take some work.
Right.
But that's the difference. People who are successful see that work and address it and get it done.
Yeah.
Other people just go with the flow. Like, man, I can't do any better. You can, man. I'm telling you, you can. I mean, I have some attributes that God blessed me with, but it's hard work. I'm sure you didn't make it freaking playing grab ass wearing a Grateful Dead t-shirt. You know what I'm saying? Like, it takes a lot of hard work. Yeah. And you can't be afraid of that work to change.
Well, I always say, self-made billionaire, Charlie Munger, Bill Gates says smartest guys ever met. He says, at the end of the day, to get what you want, you have to deserve what you want.
Yeah.
The world's not yet a crazy enough place to reward a whole bunch of undeserving people. So that's really what Cheeto fingers is. It's like, if you're undeserving, you're going to be able to tell by just looking at you, and you won't get what you want.
You're right.
So make yourself, it's like UFC. You want to be a UFC champion, you have to be able to say, does someone else deserve it more than me? If the answer is yes, you will meet them one day, and you will lose. Yep. So just make it where no one deserves it more than you, and you're done.
It's going to be a lot of work. You just have to embrace it.
Yeah, but what else? It's like John Calipari, the Kentucky coach. He says, life, you have to love the grind, because life is the grind. People are always thinking about, UFC champion, as if it's a moment in time. Sure, it's a moment. You win the NBA championship moment, but most of your life is the grind. So the key is, if you love the grind, if this Cheeto finger guys can go, I'm going to love the process of reversing. If I love that process, then he's going to pull it off.
If what you're doing is not a grind, then you're not doing anything worth
Exactly.
it. It's not worth it then.
So, you fought Nogueira, brother. I lived in my little funny bump running with the UFC. I've done jiu-jitsu and stuff like that, but, not at a high level remotely. But I was living in Miami, and I met this girl, Brazilian girl, Juliana, her last name, we went out a few times, like Nogueira. But that's kind of a common Brazilian name.
Yeah.
It didn't strike me. So she's like, come, I'm going to have some family over. I'm going to cook dinner at my condo. So I drive downtown Brickell or something in downtown Miami, get in the elevators, and, Nogueira brothers, people don't realize there's identical twins, Minotauro and whatever, Minajaro. I can never tell the difference.
I can't either.
It's like Minotauro and Minajaro.
It's Little Nog and Big Nog.
Yeah, Little Nog and Big Nog. So they get it, these two dudes, and they're big guys. Like, they're 6'4". You can tell these guys have gone to the mat. Their ears. Sure. And so they both get in the elevator with me. And I recognize them right away. Now, I didn't put two and two together, and I was thinking, I was like, Minotauro is in an elevator with me.
Yeah.
So I was like, I wonder why they're here. So we go up the damn elevator. People think I'm smart. I'm like, I'm not always smart here.
Yeah.
I get to the top, and I was like on 30th floor. They get out with me. I'm like, what in the world? They must be on the same floor as Julia. I walk to the front door. We talked a little bit. They're nice guys.
Yeah, great
I
guys.
knock on the door. They're behind me. She opens. She's like, oh, you met my brothers already. So we're sitting there eating. It's Juliana, the two Nogueira brothers, and I'm like thinking to myself, be very kind to this girl.
For sure, don't screw this girl over.
Yeah. No,
hopefully she didn't look like Nogueira with a wig on.
No. She's great. She's great. She's a cool girl. We're still friends. They're in San Diego.
Nice, man.
So the moral of the story is, guys, when you're dating someone, do your research.
For sure.
If you're gonna be an asshole, because you never know.
I'll tell you what, you couldn't find two nicer guys in the sport.
Oh, I know. But you know what? When you're 6'4" UFC champion, I've been out to it with a clubbing and stuff. You're good. You're okay. Not too many people are bum rushing them at the club. They roll with a big group of like Brazilian jiu-jitsu guys, but they're nice. But I'm sure if push comes to shove. Sure
you'll find most UFC guys are nice because there's no ego. We don't have to prove anything.
Right.
There's nothing to prove.
That's why I said never trust a man that has been punched in the face, because when you get punched, I remember when I was a teenager, I used to get in fights a lot, and one time, a dude, I'll never forget, he was playing football, he was a bully. My friend, he would bully my friend, and I was like, I'm gonna come, let's see if we can, fight this guy and stop. And we were playing football, and I tackled the dude because he pushed my friend. We got in a fight, pretty big street fight. And this guy, I'll never forget, I was on top of him winning, like mount. I had to mount. And this is when I learned street fights are not the same.
Yeah,
he grabbed me right in the balls, dude. I'll never forget that feeling of going, my fist was up and I was like, uh-oh. It was like that, uh-oh, I'm in trouble. And he just pulled me over, rolled over, and then he shattered my nose just like yours.
The dick bully. Just
yeah,
the
dick. But the moral of the story, I was like, I'm going to be a little more cautious with street fights because you never know. So it kind of levels your brain out a little bit.
Especially when you're fighting dick bullies.
Yeah.
I never encountered one.
You never encountered.
Yeah.
I do not.
I don't want a dick bully.
I've learned.
I mean, bullies are bad enough, but one seeking out the balls.
We got Cheeto fingers and dick bullies.
Dick bullies. Oh, that's another level of bully, man.
What is the, I've done jujitsu and it's like every move has a counter. I feel like there is no counter for the dick grab.
I don't know, man.
Technically it wasn't dick, it was balls, which is worse. It was like, it literally, I remember, it's funny how you can vividly remember.
Plays for keys,
He
bro.
played for keys. I was like, all right, I'm going to this with a cup on next time.
Heck yeah, I'll be wearing a cup nonstop around that bully.
Before we go into street fight, here's the deal. We got several moves that you cannot do. All right, agreement? Begin.
The dick bully doesn't follow by the same rules as everyone, man. First rule of Fight Club, there are no rules, said the dick bully.
But I feel like that is a rule among men. I feel like
For
that
sure,
is the one rule among men.
That
You
is.
can do anything you want, but you cannot do. You can gouge out eyes, but you
I
cannot.
would prefer you gouge out my eyes than grab my dick.
Dude, I used to go in nightclubs and I had a guy with one eye had a patch. Women loved him.
Really?
There's nothing more badass than a James Bond dude coming in. He had one eye patch. Yeah, man, that's the good thing about being a guy. It's like women, they say a woman who has a scar on her face, her attractiveness goes down like 30%. But a man with a scar on the face, they say goes up 10% in research.
Because chicks think he's like an alpha male.
You survived.
Makes sense.
I meet guys, it's like, the one good thing of Hercules, I know you didn't like, there's the one best part. He had that friend who was like...
Who didn't talk?
Yeah. But he had scars all over him, and I tell people, it's like, in business, who do you want to go to battle with? Some dude who's in the trench and you look over and he has soft fingers, he's putting lotion on, or you want to
with soft fingers.
Exactly. George Carl told me, he came into my house, and first time I met him, the NBA coach, and he said, Tai, never trust a man who won't drink a beer. He's like, if you go somewhere and you're like, go on a beer, I'm like, no, I don't drink beer. He's like, I don't trust that guy.
I don't
Like,
trust
he wants
that
wines and spritzers, he's like, I'm out, man.
I'm with you, man. Don't trust a guy who drinks freaking spritzers or who's a dick bully. Don't trust any of those guys, man.
People want to know more about you. What's the best way?
On Twitter, it's at Brendan Schaub. Instagram's the same. Usually a lot of funny stuff on there. I'm pretty good with social media. And then the podcast is just The Fighter and the Kid. It's on iTunes, SoundCloud.
Next fight, if they want to tune in, anything you can
If
disclose?
you follow me on Twitter, Instagram, you'll find out. Once I know, I put it on there and I'll announce it. But I'm hoping for a November return, so we'll see. I just wait for the big man to call me, and I'm always ready.
I'm gonna find Cheeto Finger Man. I'm gonna order a pay-per-view at his house. I will be there. All right, man. Thanks so much.
Appreciate it.